All right, everybody, we are live with the Combatcast, coming off the heels of UFC 295. We're going to talk about that today, and we are going to talk about the upcoming fight night card as well. But Chevy, tell people what we got coming up first.
All right, next week, November 25th, we'll be previewing PFL 2023 Season Championships, and then December 2nd, UFC Fight Night Dariush versus Sarukian. And then December 9th, I believe the new main event in Shanghai will be Song Yadong versus Chris Gutierrez.
Okay.
Fight night over there.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be Peter Yan, I believe, but I think he got hurt. So I believe now it is Chris Gutierrez stepping in.
It's a main event spot.
Song Yadong in China, though. I bet the crowd's going to go nuts there for that.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, it just sounds like a weak name-wise fight night card, though.
I'm sure it's going to be a bunch of Asian fighters that we don't really know of, and they only fight once a year when the UFC goes to China. So,
yes, we'll see. Like I say, we'll see how that unfolds. But regardless, we are coming off the heels of a very big and noteworthy UFC 295 from this past weekend. We did pretty good on our predictions overall, but I'd be lying if I said the way some of these things happen weren't still a surprise.
Yeah, first of all, amazing card. All finishes on the main card. So people really showed out for the crowd at MSG, so that was great. But yeah, picks wise, pretty well. Didn't pick this first fight right though.
Oh yeah,
Diego Lopez versus Pat Sabatini.
Yes, that one. Yeah, Lopez showed up. That's all I could say. He looked really good. These first two fights in particular, it's almost like, really, what do you say? Lopez just came out super aggressive, looked sharp, and finished him. Got him out of there in the first round. So it's not really a lot to comment on, other than I'll let you go a little more into it. But I picked up some potential opponents for the winners coming out of this. And for me, Lopez currently isn't in the top 15, so I looked at that top 15, and right at number 15, Alex Caceres, Bruce Leroy. I thought that'd be a nice little fight.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a great fight. A tough fight for Caceres for sure, but a good step up for Lopez. As far as the fight with Sabatini, I'm with you. There's not much to say. He just came out and clipped Pat early. Bummer for Pat to get finished so early at MSG, but it is what it is. That's fighting. So,
yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next fight. Matt Steamroller Favola versus Benoit Saint Denis.
Yeah, Benoit Saint Denis. He came out. This is almost like the first fight. A house of fire. He did what he had to do to get the win. The only thing I would say a little bit different is obviously it's a bigger step up in competition, and both guys I thought were super aggressive. And I don't want to say careless, but they were both going for that finish right away. But in the end, Benoit was the one who came out on top, and this guy just continues to impress and move up the ladder. So for him, I went a little bit bigger. We're looking outside that top 15, but I'm thinking Bobby Green or Dan Hooker. Maybe the winner of that could face Benoit next. Yeah,
that would be great matchmaking. I know he called out Poirier, but he's never getting that fight. Come on, let's be real. Make a reasonable call out. That was a wasted opportunity. So yeah, I think you're right though. Bobby Green or Dan Hooker, both good fights too. Either one is a great fight for him. But
something with value, but within reason. Go ahead.
Yeah. So as far as the fight with Matt, I thought Matt looked a little bit nervous. Maybe the moment fighting at home in MSG got to him a little bit. Poor defensive discipline, not keeping his hands up when he was circling off from the clinch there. And he got head kicked and put out pretty quickly. So bummer for him, but he's one of those live by the sword, die by the sword kind of guys. So I'm sure that won't be the last time something like that happens to him. So exciting fight while it lasted.
For sure.
Let's move on. We're cruising through this card. Jessica Andrade versus Mackenzie Dern, another finish.
Yeah, and this is what we did get wrong too. Jessica Andrade, she looked like the Andrade of old, you could say. She was patient in there. I thought Jason Pearl was with Mackenzie Dern for this fight. I guess she wasn't. I found out after. I guess somebody made the comment, whoever let go of Perillo should be fired, which would make sense, though, because I definitely thought Dern's striking almost went backwards a little bit in this fight. She looked a little less careless compared to the last fight with Hill. Obviously, Andrade has a lot more power.
I think that's the main cause. You know, once she started getting touched up a little bit is when you saw her getting wild.
Right. But regardless, Andrade, great win. Great to get her back on track. For her, I went a little higher because I realized Carla Esparza does not have a fight in a little while. And if she's looking to get back in there, I think she's currently ranked number 1. But, I think
she just had a kid, so.
Oh, okay. Well, that fight's probably not going to happen. But it's a tough for Andrade because she's fought so many of these women. Like, whether she's won or lost, she's fought almost everybody at this point.
Yeah, she's got like 20 fights in the UFC or more across 3 weight divisions. So, yeah, she's definitely going to have to start repeating some fights, some rematches and stuff for sure.
Yeah, well, we'll see what they do with her. But overall, your thoughts?
Yeah, Andrade finally looked like herself again, so it was good to see her back looking good. And like we said, Dern's striking did look quite a bit rougher once she started getting tagged. And yeah, if you have the skills on the ground that Mackenzie Dern has, you should only be working on takedowns. So you should have a wrestling coach, and you should, keep your hands crisp and continue working to improve in all areas. But that's a good area to improve in. And Jason Perillo is a great boxing coach, basically, striking coach. So I'm not sure what that was, whether, Perillo has too much on his hands with Cheeto or what, or if Mackenzie didn't want to continue the relationship or whatever, but she needs to get somebody else in that spot that can keep her going, because she lost her head in there on the feet for sure. Still tough. She's got a real warrior spirit on the feet. She's game for sure, but just needs to tighten it up a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to co-main event fight. I was most excited for on the card: Sergey Pavlovich versus Tom Aspinall.
Yeah, Aspinall, we both predicted he would win here. I think we thought, he just had a little more tools and he had survived not getting hit. Ironically, he got hit right at the beginning of the fight, but this guy also shows he has a hell of a chin. And he reminded us he also has that one punch power as well. So, I thought, he'd wear him down, take him down, and maybe get a little ground and pound. No, he clipped him hard, then gave him a few shots, but this fight was pretty over after that big shot by Tom. This guy's a world champion. You can put interim in there, but at the end of the day, he showed me he's one of the best heavyweights in the world. And I'm talking Francis, I'm talking John Jones. I don't know where Stipe is currently. That this next fight would have probably told us, but Aspinall's there. He's the real deal. And I hope, like, for his next fight, I would love it to be John Jones, because that would be ideal if Jones, let's say he does the legacy fight with Stipe, and then, he sticks around to fight Tom, because Tom deserves that passing of the guard. If this guy's going to end up defending this interim title, because they may make him do that, I'll just throw this out there. There's a lot of fresh matchups for Tom, because he's still got some people he hasn't fought. Almeida, you could do Cyril Gahn, they haven't fought. And even, honestly, Curtis Blades, because that's the fight he injured himself in. So all of these are potential compelling matchups too. So I hope Tom stays on top, and we have a lot of potential compelling heavyweight fights. Also, the UK is one of the best crowds there is going, so I look forward to this guy possibly defending the title over there.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, just a great performance. Also told Lorosenko he had a back injury,
yes,
and could not train the last 10 days before the fight. Didn't even know if he was going to make it to the fight. But you can't say no when you're given that sort of opportunity, he said. So respect to him just for taking the fight and making it to the cage. And as far as the actual fight was, Sergey, it was masterful. He, like you said, he did get touched once, and we all got a little bit nervous. But he came back with stunned Sergey the first time, and then he landed that, I think it was left hook right on the jaw and put him out, and then followed up a little bit. So respect to him, respect to Sergey. I'm sure that Sergey will be back. He also looked a little bit nervous. He was wary of Tom's power, obviously, rightly so. But I think he'll be back. He still has all the skills to be champion for sure. But as far as Jones and Stipe, I think Tom's better than both of them at this point. I mean, Stipe, they showed him walking into the arena. The man can barely walk. So I don't know how he's going to do in a fight with somebody as athletic as Tom. But I think you give Stipe the fight against Tom, because I don't think Jones is going to be back for a while. And Tom said he wanted to defend his quote-unquote interim belt. It's a real belt. John Jones is not the heavyweight champion anymore, in my eyes. He wanted to defend it at UFC 300, which I think, heavyweight champion of the world or whatever, giant 300 card. I think you give it to him. Given the legacy fight versus Stipe, he also said he'd fight Almeida or whatever. I think anyone you throw in there at this point, I would favor Tom.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's hard to argue.
All right, let's move on to the main event. Yuri Prochazka versus Alex Pereira.
I think Chael Sonnen was talking about this, and he was saying, does really Pereira show us anything new in this? And this guy's got almost an amateur record when you think about it. He's only had 10 fights. He's not a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He doesn't have any strong wrestling background, but because he has this unique skill set, he's a dynamic striker with his power. And at the end of the day, now already after 11 fights, he's had a Hall of Fame career. He's had in one calendar year, he's been a champion in 2 different weight classes in the UFC. And he said it's an argument to make him fighter of the year. And the guy who's the current champion at middleweight didn't even get out of 1 round who hit Alex Pereira. So it's very unique. If you look at the fight too, Prochazka was his awkward self a little bit of times, and he was catching Pereira at different times, but Pereira was lighting him up. And I don't know. It's not too many people to have this kind of unique skill set like Pereira does, where I feel like I could see him lose. He really is the definition of anybody can win in MMA, because I feel like he could get caught by a really good, solid wrestler at middleweight or light heavyweight. But on any given day, this guy could light somebody up at heavyweight and be heavyweight champion. He's incredible. I'm not saying I would favor that, but I'm he's got that kind of striking skill set where it's something to watch, like Izzy, except for bigger and stronger. So for his next fight, to me, you got to go Jamal Hill, though. I know he wants Adesanya. I know that's the money fight. But to me, Jamal Hill had never lost that title. He got hurt. He looked good against Glover. So if Jamal Hill, as long as he's ready to come back, that's the fight to make. By the way, a fight I think is still very winnable for Pereira, because Jamal likes to bang too. So
yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah. He has gotten a lot of favorable matchups for sure because of the storyline with Izzy. He got a good push through middleweight and now light heavyweight. But he did fight Jan Blachowicz, who can grapple. He decided not really to grapple, but he survived 3 rounds with him. And Yuri can grapple as well, but decided he wanted to be in a kickboxing match with a world kickboxing champion, which I was worried about going into the fight. He didn't address Alex's devastating low leg kick early enough, and that's what really cost him the fight. Once he didn't have his footwork, he was just there to be hit by Alex. So, I'm sure Yuri will be back. Respect to him for saying that he was actually out, addressing the stoppage after the fight. I'm sure he'll be back. He'll probably go sit in a dark room and meditate for 3 weeks or something, whatever he does. But I'm sure he'll get it figured out. He'll be back, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's champion again at some point. But as far as Alex, yes, I think Jamal Hill needs to be right. I know people are giving Jamal Hill shit for his antics outside of the cage where he's putting the crown on his head figuratively or whatever. I mean, he was the champion. Yeah, you want a confident fighter. So
Yeah.
I don't see why people are upset with that. But I think Hill is also a favorable matchup for Alex. But when you see the likes of like Ankalaev or Rakic or Krylov or something like that down the list, those guys are going to give him real trouble, I think. His grappling just not quite at that level. He kind of just survives on the ground at this point. He did manage to get up, but from a takedown, but he needs to continue to work to improve.
Yeah, no arguments there. Great show overall, though.
Yeah, what a card. MSG, had a real one there. It was great.
Absolutely. And let's get to it this week. Big fight night card. Chevy, let's talk about it.
Yeah, we're just going to go over the co-main and main event. This is definitely not a card for casuals. It is a hardcore card. Also on the undercard, fight to keep an eye out for, Chase Hooper versus Jordan Leavitt. I'm definitely looking forward to that one. This main card starts at 5 p.m. Eastern also. It's an early one, so we always appreciate those ones. But let's get it in this co-main event. Michael Morales versus Jake Matthews.
Michael Morales, 15-0, 11 KOs, 1 subs, 3 decisions, 3-0 in the UFC. He's from the Contender Series. Definition of a prospect right here. This guy's winning all his fights. Jake Matthews, 19-6, 5 KOs, 8 subs, 6 decision. Exciting fighter. He wins and he loses, though. Not very consistent. He's 2-2 in his last 4 fights. Look at this guy's career in the UFC. I think the most, he really, maybe a 3-fight win streak here and there, but then he'll win and he'll lose. It's a little hard fight to predict in some ways because Jake Matthews is a step up in competition and has had so many more fights. I can see Jake winning this, but I'll go with the Contender. I feel like if you just look at this fight, this is set up for Morales to try to get the win here. So I'll say Morales gets it by decision. Yeah.
Like you were saying, Matthews, good step up for Morales, but make no mistake, they're trying to build him. So Jake gets hit, and Morales is a finisher on the feet. So I'm going to assume he gets a round 1 KO. I'm going to go with Michael Morales, round 1 KO. But cardio is an issue for him. So if the fight goes longer, Jake gets him on the ground and subs him, I think. So I'm going to... My decision, my prediction will be round 1 KO for Morales, but won't be surprised if the fight goes after that. He gets finished himself.
All right, main event.
All right, main event. I am excited for this. A lot of questions being answered with this fight here. So Brendan Allen versus Paul Craig.
Yeah, it's a very interesting fight. Brendan Allen is 22-5, 5 KOs, 13 subs, 4 decisions. He's 10-2 in the UFC. He's on a 5-fight win streak. The only losses are to Chris Curtis and Sean Strickland in the UFC. So basically training partners. I feel like they might have had some inside chats on there.
Eric Nixon has a game plan for Brendan Allen, apparently. Huh?
Apparently, yes. So they have the blueprint. Paul Craig, 17-6-1, 4 KOs, 13 subs. He's 1-0 at middleweight. All right. This guy's had performance of the night 8 times. Second most submission wins in UFC light heavyweight division. He loves to go for those submissions. All right. His last victory, I believe, I don't have it on me here, but I think actually was, I think he TKO'd his last opponent at light heavyweight, if I'm correct here. I don't know if you know that one off the top of your head. I'm gonna.
Andre Muniz, who I think was another grappling savant guy.
Right. So what's interesting about that is that Paul might have a little more power in this division. Even though he's going down in weight, that is something to keep an eye on because he's usually more of a submission guy. It's kind of hard to favor Paul at this point still because Brendan has been on such a roll in this weight class, and this is Brendan's weight class. So I kind of lean more towards him. I think he could get a finish. I think someone's going to get a finish because that's just the way Paul fights. That's the way Brandon Allen likes to fight too. So I think we'll get a finish. But that being said, Man, I don't know. I might be on picking with my heart, but as I like Brennan Allen, but something tells me I'm going to go Paul Craig submission round 3. I think he's going to struggle with Brennan Allen a little bit here and there, but I think something's going to happen as the fight goes on. Paul Craig will catch him in a triangle or something.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of both of these guys. And they're both wizards on the ground. They both just fought wizards on the ground. So, they're tuned up for this kind of fight. Those fights usually mean that we're going to see a stand-up fight, and that's what makes it interesting. Like you were saying, Paul Craig coming down from the bigger weight class can, be translating to a little bit more power, but Paul Craig's striking skills, not super great. He's not worried about getting taken down, so he can throw a lot of kicks and stuff like that, and he's got very long limbs. But Brennan Allen, I believe, is just technically better on the feet. So I'm going to go with him, and I'm going to say it's a decision. I think this has potential to be a somewhat boring fight, even though both guys are normally very exciting. I think they might cancel each other out in a lot of situations here. So I think we might get a somewhat boring decision. If not, this could be a very exciting fight on the ground if they choose to keep it down there.
All right, we'll see. All right, fans, that's going to be it for this week. Chevy, tell people we got coming up one more time.
All right, November 25th, PFL 2023 Season Championships. December 2nd, UFC Fight Night, Dariush versus Sarukian. And then December 9th from China, UFC Fight Night, Song versus Gutierrez.
All right, folks. That's going to be it for this week. Thank you for tuning in.